It's okay. Let's get one thing straight right now. If you've ever felt like you were being punished for standing up for yourself, if someone close to you has ever flipped the script the moment you started growing, healing, or saying no, this isn't in your head. This is what happens when a narcissist sees you as being too strong. See, narcissists aren't interested in relationships. They're interested in control. And the second you stop playing small, the second you stop feeding their ego, boom, the mask comes off. Today, I'm going to tell you exactly what they do, and more importantly, how you take your power back, because the truth is, their fear of your strength is the biggest clue to just how powerful you really are. Let's go. When you begin to stand in your power, when you start setting boundaries, speaking up, and no longer seeking their validation, something shifts, and not in a good way for the narcissist. Suddenly, you're not playing the role they cast you in. You're no longer easy to manipulate, easy to guilt trip, or easy to silence, and that is exactly what threatens them. Narcissists feed off control. It's not about connection. It's not about love. It's about dominance, ego, and power. When you step into your strength, you disrupt the system they've carefully built around you. You stop being their puppet. And that's when the mask starts to slip. They see your growth as a direct attack. Your confidence becomes rebellion. Your clarity becomes defiance. Your peace becomes their problem. It doesn't matter if you're not attacking them. You could be healing, improving, thriving, and then will still take it as a challenge to their authority. Because deep down, narcissists don't want equals. They want followers. They want admiration without accountability. And when you no longer give them either, they see you as dangerous, not because you are, but because they can't control you anymore. So what do? They react. They retaliate. Sometimes it's subtle, a passive-aggressive comment, a silent treatment, a little dig disguised as a joke. Other times, it's explosive, a full-blown tantrum, a smear campaign, a cruel attempt to tear you down. The goal is always the same: break your spirit so they can reclaim control. Your strength is a threat to their illusion of superiority. Your independence exposes their insecurity, and nothing terrifies a narcissist more than someone they can't dominate. This is where the trap lies. The moment you show strength, they push back harder. And if you're not aware of what's happening, you might start questioning yourself. You might wonder if you're being too much, too harsh, too selfish. But that doubt, that's exactly what they want. Because if they can't control you directly, they'll try to get in your head. They'll use shame, guilt, and confusion to chip away at your self-trust. That's how they work. If they can't win through force, they'll win through manipulation. But here's the truth. Their reaction isn't a reflection of your wrongness. It's proof of your growth. It means you're no longer dancing to their tune. You're disrupting the pattern. And that's the first step to breaking free. Gaslighting is one of the narcissist's favorite tools because it doesn't just confuse you. It rewrites your reality. It starts small. You express a concern and they dismiss it as overreacting. You recall something they said or did and they claim it never happened. You feel hurt and they say you're being too sensitive. It's not just lying, it's psychological warfare. The goal is to make you question your own thoughts, your own memory, your own instincts. Over time, you stop trusting yourself, and that is exactly what they want. When you're strong, when your sense of self is intact, you're harder to control. You notice patterns, you speak up, you make decisions based on truth. So what does a narcissist do when faced with someone grounded in clarity? They shake the foundation. They chip away at your confidence, one comment at a time. They twist facts, deny obvious things, and contradict your experience until you begin to feel unstable. And once that doubt sets in, they use it to manipulate your choices, your emotions, your reactions. You begin second-guessing everything. That's how they regain control. They'll even gaslight you about the gaslighting. If you bring it up, they'll say, you're the one twisting things, or you're just being dramatic. It's a mind game designed to keep you in a state of confusion, because confusion makes you easier to... If you don't know what's real, they get to define reality for you. That's how they maintain the upper hand. You don't trust your version of the story anymore. You trust theirs. And that shift... that's what allows them to manipulate you without lifting a finger. You might find yourself apologizing for things that weren't no fault. You might replay conversations over and over in your head, wondering if you missed something. You might even isolate yourself because you're afraid of seeming crazy. But none of that is coming from you. It's coming from the intentional disorientation they create. This isn't a misunderstanding. It's a strategy. And it works because it attacks you from the inside out. They're not just trying to win an argument, they're trying to own your perception of the truth. This is especially common when a narcissist starts to feel like they're losing control. When you start asserting boundaries or calling out inconsistencies, they double down. Because in their world, your ability to see clearly is a threat. So they blur the lines, they rewrite the past, they insert doubt where there used to be certainty. And slowly, if you're not aware, you can lose your grip on what's real. That's not weakness. It's the power of their tactics. Even the strongest person can start to question themselves under that kind of pressure. But once you name it, once you see it for what it is, that's when the spell begins to break. You start trusting your gut again. You start checking facts. You start holding on to your version of reality, even when it's inconvenient for them. And every time you do that, you take back a piece of your power. Because the real danger isn't just what they do. It's how they make you forget who you are. When a narcissist starts to feel your strength, one of the first things they'll do is flip the script and play the victim. It's a classic move because it shifts the spotlight away from their behavior and places the blame squarely on you. It's manipulation dressed up as vulnerability. They'll make it seem like you're the one being unreasonable, hurtful, or cruel. Suddenly, the person who undermined you, disrespected your boundaries, and drained your energy becomes the wounded party, and you're cast as the aggressor. And if you're someone who values empathy, you'll be tempted to doubt yourself and feel guilt where none is warranted. They'll cry, sulk, exaggerate, or twist the story to make it sound like they're being attacked when all you did was stand up for yourself. They'll say things like, "I can't believe you'd treat me like this after everything I've done for you," or "You're always trying to make me the bad guy," or "You're just so cold now. What happened to you?" This is all calculated to make you question whether you're being too harsh, too distant, or too selfish. But none of it is rooted in truth. It's all rooted in deflection. They need you to stop focusing on their behavior and start focusing on your guilt. That's the game. When they play the victim, they're not looking for understanding. They're looking for leverage. They want to flip the power dynamic so that you're on the defensive, so that instead of holding them accountable, you're comforting them. Instead of maintaining your boundary, you're backtracking. It's emotional manipulation at its most deceptive because it doesn't look like aggression. It looks like sadness. It looks like fragility, but it's really just another mask designed to keep control. Narcissists are experts at turning their consequences into your guilt trip. And here's where it gets even more twisted. They'll often do this in front of others. It'll make it seem like you're the unstable one, the angry one, the ungrateful one. They'll tell half-truths and warped versions of events to mutual friends, family members, or even therapists, just to build a narrative where they're the misunderstood hero and you're the villain. This is how they maintain their image while isolating you, because if they can make other people believe their story, it adds pressure on you to fall back in line. Now, it's not just them painting you as the problem. It's the entire environment around you echoing the same thing. This tactic is especially effective when you're still emotionally attached to the relationship. You don't want to hurt them. You don't want to seem heartless. You remember the good times, and that makes you vulnerable to guilt, even when the facts are on your side. Narcissists count on this. They weaponize your empathy. They know that if they can make you feel bad for standing your ground, they can manipulate you back into submission without ever having to change. That's why it's so important to recognize the pattern. Once you understand what's happening, you stop falling for the act. You stop scrambling to prove you're not the bad guy. You stop explaining yourself to someone who's not interested in understanding. Because at the end of the day, playing the victim is not about healing, it's about controlling the narrative. And when you refuse to participate, when you stand firm in your truth, no matter how loud the guilt trip gets, you take your power back, one unapologetic step at a time. When a narcissist senses that you're becoming stronger, more independent, more self-assured, more unwilling to tolerate manipulation, they don't just feel threatened, they feel exposed. And when that happens, one of the most dangerous strategies they'll use is isolation. Not necessarily by locking you away physically, but by slowly cutting you off emotionally and socially from the people who support you. Because when you're surrounded by people who remind you of your worth, you're harder to control. But if they can chip away at your support system, they can make you feel alone, confused, and dependent on them again. They start subtly. Maybe they criticize your friends, claiming they're jealous, toxic, or don't really care about you. They might plant seeds of doubt by saying things like, I just don't think they have your best interests at heart, or I've always felt like they're using you. And because you care about their opinion, or you're trying to keep the peace, you start questioning relationships that were once safe and stable. That's step one, alienation by influence. They make you second guess the people who would normally help you see the truth. Then it becomes more direct. They might guilt trip you for spending time with family, friends, or even coworkers. Why do you always choose them over me? I guess I don't matter to you anymore. We barely see each other as it is. And now you're going out again? These comments aren't just emotional, they're calculated. They create pressure and obligation, making you feel like maintaining outside relationships is selfish or wrong. And slowly, without realizing it, you start showing up less for others and more for them. Your world narrows and their influence grows stronger. Isolation can also come through drama. Narcissists will sometimes start conflicts with the people closest to you, creating tension where there was none. Maybe they're rude to your best friend. Maybe they say your family is disrespectful. They provoke, then blame others for the fallout. Suddenly you're stuck in the middle, constantly trying to mediate or choose sides. And in all that stress, they position themselves as the only safe place left, the only one who really gets you. That's not love. That's control. It's manipulation disguised as concern. Another form this takes is emotional withdrawal. When you get too confident or assertive, they pull away, become cold, detached, unresponsive. You reach out and get silence. You try to talk and they shut down. The goal here is to punish your strength by making you feel abandoned. They want you to associate your power with loneliness, so you'll start shrinking yourself just to restore harmony. This is how they train you to disconnect from others and eventually even from your own inner voice. The danger of this isolation isn't just that you lose relationships, it's that you lose perspective. You stop having people around you to say, hey, that's not normal, or you deserve better, or even, this isn't your fault. Without those reminders, it's easier for the narcissist to rewrite reality, to paint their behavior as acceptable, and to convince you that you're the one who needs to change. Isolation makes their voice the loudest, and eventually the only one you hear. But awareness changes everything. When you start noticing this pattern, you can start reconnecting, both with others and with yourself. You can rebuild the bridges they tried to burn. You can stop apologizing for needing community, for having boundaries, and for wanting healthy relationships. Because connection is not a threat, it's a lifeline. And the stronger your support system, the less power a narcissist has over you. One of the most toxic patterns in a narcissistic relationship is the way they provoke you on purpose, just to turn around and blame you for reacting. It's a setup, and it's one of their most manipulative tactics. They'll poke at your insecurities, invalidate your feelings, mock your boundaries, or say something deliberately cruel. And when you finally react, whether you get angry, emotional, or simply stand your ground, they act shocked and offended. Suddenly, you're the one who's overreacting, too emotional or impossible to deal with. It's a trap, and they set it to make you look like the problem. This isn't a misunderstanding. It's calculated. Narcissists know exactly how to get under your skin. They know what buttons to push, what wounds to press on, and how to do it in a way that still gives them plausible deniability. They'll say things that are just subtle enough to fly under the radar, but sharp enough to hurt. And when you respond, when you finally say, enough, they twist the narrative. Now, it's not about what they did. It's about how you lost control. This is how, and they escape accountability while making you question your own behavior. They use this cycle to keep you in a constant state of self-doubt. Because if they can provoke you and get a strong reaction, they can paint you as unstable or irrational. This helps them play the victim and justify whatever mistreatment comes next. They might say, see, this is why I can't talk to you, or this is exactly the kind of drama I was trying to avoid. What they're doing is baiting you, then punishing you for taking the bait. It's manipulation layered with blame shifting, and it can seriously damage your self-esteem over time. This tactic is particularly dangerous because it's so confusing. On the surface, it looks like you're the one escalating things. After all, you're the one who raised your voice, got emotional, or walked away. But what people don't see is the silent provocation that led up to that moment. They don't see the gaslighting, the subtle digs, the constant invalidation. So even if you try to explain, it sounds like you're just making excuses. That's exactly what the narcissist wants. They want you to look like the unstable one, so they don't have to take any responsibility. And if you're not aware of what's happening, you start internalizing it. You start believing that maybe you are too sensitive. Maybe you are overreacting. Maybe you are the one causing the chaos. And once that doubt creeps in, they've got you exactly where they want you. Now, every time you feel anger or frustration, you suppress it. You walk on eggshells. You avoid conflict, not because things are peaceful, but because you're afraid of being blamed again. That's how they control you, by turning your natural emotional responses into weapons they can use against you. But here's the truth. Your reaction isn't the problem. Their behavior is. You're not too much for having emotions. You're not unstable for standing up for yourself. You're human, and anyone who deliberately provokes you just to play the victim when you react is not looking for peace. They're looking for power. Recognizing this is the first step to breaking the cycle, because once you see the setup, you can stop playing the role they've assigned you. You can stay calm, stay grounded, and refuse to let them drag you into their chaos. The moment you stop engaging with a narcissist's games, you start winning, because silence, distance, and emotional detachment are their worst enemies. Narcissists thrive on attention, control, and emotional reactions. That's their fuel. Whether it's admiration or outrage, it doesn't matter to them. As long as you're reacting, they're winning. But when you stop giving them that response, when you detach, go quiet, and stop explaining or defending yourself, they lose access to the power they once had over you. And that shift is something they can't stand. Walking away emotionally, mentally, or physically from a narcissist sends a very loud message. You don't control me anymore. And for someone who built their entire dynamic around dominating and manipulating, that message is devastating. That's when you'll see them scramble. They might lash out, love bomb, guilt trip, or suddenly act like the victim to suck you back in. But all of it is a test designed to pull you back into the cycle. Because without your emotional energy, they're left with the one thing they hate most: irrelevance. They'll try to provoke a reaction one more time. They might say things that are deliberately insulting or bring up your past mistakes. They may spread lies about you to others or post subtle jabs online. They might even pretend to move on quickly, flaunting a new relationship or acting like you never mattered. But all of that is noise. It's desperation in disguise. The truth is, when you stop engaging, you hold up a mirror to them that they can't bear to look into, because your silence reflects the one thing they're trying to hide from: their own emptiness. It's not easy to disengage, especially if they've conditioned you to believe you owe them an explanation, or that walking away makes you the bad guy. But here's what you have to remember. Narcissists don't respond to reason, they respond to control. The less access they have to your emotions, the less control they have over your life. Silence isn't weakness, it's a boundary. It's saying, I will no longer play a role in your performance. I'm done giving energy to something that only drains me. Sometimes the most powerful move is no move at all. You stop defending yourself against lies because you know your truth. You stop arguing about things that never had logic to begin with. You stop proving your worth to someone who never intended to see it. That's not indifference, it's healing. Because real strength isn't found in fighting battles that go nowhere. It's found in choosing peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, and self-respect over reactivity. And while they may try to provoke you one last time, the greatest closure often comes not from the narcissist finally admitting the truth, but from you no longer needing them to. When you stop engaging, you reclaim your voice, your energy, and your freedom. You become someone they can no longer reach. And in that silence, you remind yourself and them that your worth was never up for debate.